The first time I stood in front of an autopsy room, facing a fresh body, I had just turned 18. The feeling of standing there under the harsh lights with the cold, lifeless body before me made my heart race. Officer Mark Thompson, the lead coroner, was carefully unzipping the body bag, his face serious and his movements precise. But as he worked, he kept glancing at me. It made my heart pound faster, and I couldn't help but remember my childhood. I was brought back to when I was just a little boy, always following my father, who worked as a crime scene investigator, his uniform polished, his badge gleaming. Every time I saw him dressed for work, I felt a rush of excitement. It wasn't just because he was a cop, it was because I saw him as a hero. My father was one of the pioneers of criminal forensics in our city, an expert in evidence analysis. He was hoping I would follow in his footsteps, but my mother always disagreed. She says I grew up torn between their different views. My father wanted me to be a detective or a forensics expert like him, while my mother, a seasoned nurse at a local hospital, wanted me to become a doctor, someone who could save lives. It was an ongoing battle between them, neither of them wanting me to suffer. I often wondered if I should follow my father's path or my mother's. And then I discovered forensic science. It was a perfect middle ground. I could still explore the mysteries of death and crime while serving justice. And the best part was, it wasn't either extreme. Although my mother wasn't thrilled, my father supported me, and I ended up applying to the University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA, where I was accepted into their forensic science program. Little did I know, this would change my life forever. As a student at UCLA, the first semester was overwhelming. The coursework was intense, especially anatomy and pathology. The first day I stepped into the forensic lab, I realized how unprepared I was. Many students dropped out of the program, unable to cope with the pressure, but I kept going. I was determined. Soon, it became clear that this was the path I was meant to follow. Then one day, my father introduced me to Detective Jason Miller, the lead investigator at the Los Angeles Police Department's crime scene unit. My father thought it was time for me to learn from the best. Detective Miller had been in the field for over a decade and was one of the best forensics experts in the city. I began shadowing him, observing his work. He wasn't just about gathering evidence. He taught me how to read the story in the body, how to understand what happened even before the detective team arrived. It wasn't long before I was officially involved in my first case. A murder had occurred in the heart of Los Angeles, a street brawl that ended with one man dead. It was a case of violent altercation, but there was one detail that intrigued me. The body showed signs of multiple stab wounds. Detective Miller gave me my first real assignment, to document and assist in the autopsy. The day I entered the autopsy room felt surreal. I had studied it in books, like seen it in documentaries, but standing there with a real body in front of me, it was different. Mark Thompson, the coroner, instructed me to take notes, and for the first time, I saw the process unfold before my eyes. I felt a mix of excitement and dread, but more than anything, I knew I was witnessing something important. The body was that of a 28-year-old man. He had been stabbed multiple times in the chest and abdomen. Detective Miller said the stab wounds were consistent with a sharp-edged weapon, which meant it wasn't a random attack. This was personal. I followed every movement of Mark Thompson's, learning about the intricacies of forensic autopsy, how each incision, each step was critical in uncovering the truth. After the body was examined, we learned more about the victim's injuries. The stab wounds were brutal, but it was the last stab wound that caught our attention. The victim had been stabbed directly in the chest, puncturing the aorta, which led to rapid blood loss and death. The evidence from the autopsy gave us the clues we needed. Without this, we would have been left in the dark. What hit me the hardest was when Mark Thompson handed me the victim's personal belongings. Inside the victim's wallet was a picture of his family, and it struck me how, despite his rough exterior, he was still someone's son, someone's brother. I never expected to feel that emotional reaction in a situation like this, but there I was, standing over this man, holding the items that told the story of his life. We also found tattoos on the victim that I hadn't noticed at first. They were faint, partially obscured by blood and bruises, but they were there. The tattoos symbolized a gang affiliation, which was important. Detective Miller was already putting together a theory. This wasn't a random fight. It was likely a gang-related execution. As the days passed, the case unraveled. What was initially seen as just another street fight turned out to be much more. The forensic evidence provided the breakthrough we needed. It wasn't just the cause of death that mattered, it was the pattern of injuries, the forensic evidence that could point to the killer. The more I worked on this case, the more I realized the value of forensic science in solving crimes. Forensic scientists like me weren't just witnesses to the past. We were gatekeepers of justice. We provided the evidence that could either free the innocent or condemn the guilty. If I hadn't been there, we would have missed those key pieces of evidence. That day, I made a decision. I wanted to become the best forensic pathologist I could be. Not just someone who investigates death, but someone who helps solve crimes, bring justice, and give closure to those who need it most. This was the beginning of my journey, and I knew there was no turning back.